Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I'll be showing you how to cut and sew this dark manipulated style line. I'll be using 25% contour. So if you're interested, watch to the end. Don't forget to subscribe. So this tutorial is for intermediate and advanced students. So if you're a beginner, you can just do well to learn something new because it is for advanced students. Okay, all right, so you already have, as an advanced student, I want to believe you know how to draft your basic body. So this is your basic body. So I won't be starting from the scratch, just to avoid this video from being too long. Okay, so we already have our dart. We place our dart. So on my waist dart, I added it back to my waist measurement. Okay, so we'll start by dividing our shoulder into two. We want to get our shoulder dart. Okay, so we'll divide the shoulder into two, and then get the midpoint, and then connect with a ruler from the shoulder tip to my bust point. Okay, so use your ruler to draw a straight line to connect the division right from your shoulder divided by two. And then so that is the first step. So after which, the next thing, I want to get our front design. You know, the front design that has a nude color. Okay, so that is what I'll be doing on my waistline. How I did 1/4 on the bust line. I came in half inch, and then we'll connect with a ruler from the tip of the neckline to the bust line by half inch, and then to 1/4. So it's going to have a kind of a shape, an oval shape. It's not a straight line. So if you look at it closely, you discover that it's not straight. Okay, that's just to give you a shape. Okay, so the next thing is I use my masking tape to tape the middle of my bust point. Okay, and then I cut my bust dart line. So just one of the bust dart line. So I want to close the shoulder dart, and then open the bust dart, open the shoulder dart. So in order for you to be able to move, to manipulate this style line, you have to use close one dart and then open the other. So that is why we'll be using the shoulder dart. Okay, so I'm doing 25% contour, and that is why I'm closing the bust dart. So for you to be able to contour the upper part, because we'll be having a yoke, you do 25% for a dress with yoke. So you measure the opening on the shoulder dart after closing the bust dart. So that is what you measure, divide by 4. Whatever you have, you place it in front of close to the neckline. You can see what I'm doing. That is where you place the division. So what I did, I got 2.5 divided by 4, and I got 0.62, and then I placed that 0.62 on my shoulder line close to the neckline, and I connected to the bust point. So after doing that, the next thing is to replace it back to your shoulder on your armhole. Okay, so on my shoulder and tip there, on around my armhole, I'm going to place that same measurement, that's 0.62. I'm going to place it and then connect it back to the armhole like I'm doing right now. Okay, so this is to make your shoulder equal. If you don't replace it back on the shoulder, your shoulder won't be equal with the back. Remember, the back has our shoulder is we already have our shoulder for the back, so we want it equal. So that is just one. So after which, you will now close the dart. That's 0.265 that we cut out. That is a dart, so we'll be closing the dart. Okay, that's the shoulder that will be closing it. And then I'll use my masking tape to just tape it loosely. So you don't tape it down very tight, because we'll be moving it up and down, like we'll be moving it here and there. So it's just for you to be able to contour and then draw your style line. Okay, so now I'll be drawing my style line. So there is a yoke there, and there is another, what will I call it, another design there. So I'll call it a yoke also. So from my armhole, I came in 1.5, that's 1.5 inch, and then after, from that 1.5 inch, I'll mark another 1.5 inch. So that will be the width of the design from the armhole. Okay, so you can do whatever. If you want it very big, go ahead, but I just decide to use 1.5. Okay, so now you need a pencil to do this. Please don't use a permanent marker. So I already did it with a pencil. I've gotten the shape I want. So you use your pencil to just draw the shape you want. So you can do any design, any shape you want. So you can decide not to do this, anything. So but just make sure you follow the same pattern. Okay, so you draw from the armhole, you connect it to the center front. You can see my neckline. I connected it to my neckline in center front, okay, and then I use my French curve to draw out the shape. So you can use your free hand. If the curve is not allowing you to get the shape you want, please go ahead, use your free hand and then do it with a dotted line. If you're not getting it, you erase it. So I did it 1 or 2 times. I erased it before I finally got it. Okay, so once you've done that, you can see you're sure of what you've got in there. You can now mark it very, so it will be very, very clear. Please be sure that it doesn't move. Okay, that is why you need your tape to tape it down. Now, remember, we closed that shoulder dart. Okay, so now once I'm okay with what I drew, and then I just traced it out, so it will be very, very clear for you to see. Okay, so the next thing is to trace out. So that is it, guys. So we've gotten the first yoke and then the second yoke. Remember, it's connected to the center front. Okay, so what you need now, you need a plain sheet of paper and you trace that out. So this is not a kind of pattern that you cut one and then you use that one you cut your master pattern. No, this one you have to be tracing out. So you get a plain sheet of paper and then place it under. Please make sure that the edge matches, because we are starting from the center front. You can see that I placed it in a way that the two center front match. Okay, and then you redraw your shoulder, because after closing the shoulder, that your shoulder will move. Okay, so just redraw your shoulder that a little and then use your tracing wheel to trace. Please trace out correctly. Once you trace it, it's going to show. You use your tracing wheel, it's going to show on the paper under. So you can now use your pen to draw it out. I know you can't see it, but I can see it clearly. Okay, so drawing out what I traced out. Okay, so after tracing out, what you need to do is to add your label and then add your seam allowance. Very, very important. Please don't remember, we are joining, so you must add seam allowance. Okay, so your seam allowance is 0.5. You add on every part you are joining, on the shoulder, on the neckline, on the armhole, and the part that you'll be joining to the second yoke. Okay, all right, so after doing that, the next thing is to trace the second part. Okay, that's oval shape. So you can trace the oval shape. So before tracing the oval shape, I'm tracing the center front. So I'm supposed to trace the center front first before the yoke, but it's all the same. Okay, so you just make sure the paper align, because that center front is very, very important. The paper and your pattern matches very well, and then you use your pin to pin it down. Okay, and then you trace, because that is the center front. You know, it doesn't have joining, like the center front doesn't have joining. Okay, so that is how you trace it. And then once you trace, you make sure you draw the lines neatly, and then you use your ruler to draw out what you traced out, and then add your seam allowance. Very, very important. Okay, I had to speed up this thing just to allow this video to be too long, but I'm sure you can see what I'm doing. So I'm adding seam allowance after tracing the center front. So this center front is on fold, so the seam allowance is just by the side. So when you are placing your fabric, you place it on fold, right? Okay, so the next thing is to now trace the second yoke line that has this oval shape. Okay, so that's the next thing to do. So you get your pattern paper again, place it, and then trace out. It is very, very important you place it. So you can see all the part I'm tracing on the center front. Okay, so I placed it in a way that is going to be on the center front, so there won't be any joining. Okay, so that is how you do it. And then the next thing is to trace out. Okay, then draw out your line, add your seam allowance, and then you're done with the front. Okay, so the first three are all connected to the center front. Okay, so after that, the next thing is to now contour your underbust. So you can do this actually before you even start any other thing. So my underbust, I mark my underbust measurement. The actual underbust, what I have is 8. So I now measure the leftover. What I have the leftover is what I will now share between the two dart legs. Okay, so the bigger one on my right, and then the other one towards the center. The smaller one will be towards the center front. Then use your French curve to draw out your your under bust contour. So because I know I'm dealing with advanced or intermediate students, so this shouldn't be a problem. You already know what to do, how to go about this. So your own pattern may be different. Some people normally share it equally, but I don't share the my darts equally on the under bust. So you do what suits you. Okay, so after that, now we want to get no, we were done with the center front, so we want to now get the side front, okay, and the front before the center front, right? So now we'll be closing our dart. Now I've returned the dart, the pattern back to the original size, okay, the original way. So what I did is just to draw my princess dart style line. So you can see I connected it from the center bust to the armhole. Very, very important. You can see my pattern now. I've removed the shoulder dart, so it's no longer closed. You can see that my pattern is just the way I drafted it originally, okay? So now we'll be tracing from, so look at to use the color pen so you see it very, very well. Okay, so now after doing that, now we'll be closing our under bust dart. Now we want to get our side front, okay? So you need to close your under bust dart, then it means that the center front, the shoulder dart will be open. So we are moving the dart to the center front shoulder dart, sorry, so we'll be able to trace it out, okay? So once you're able to do that, you trace it out, you can now move it back to the shoulder dart and then trace the center front, or like I say, the side center front. Okay, so it's just follow me the way I'm doing it. It's quite simple and straightforward. Okay, it's just you moving the dart between the shoulder and the under bust. Okay, so now I'll be tracing the center front. Okay, this is not the center, the second center front. So I'll be tracing the second center front. So in order for me to trace the second center front, I have to close my shoulder dart again, so I'll be able to trace my center front. So you look at the way I'm tracing it, okay? But very important, place your pattern paper, make sure your pattern paper is straight, okay? Don't trace it slanty, it's going to affect it, okay? So I'm tracing it, I placed it, and then I trace. Look at the way I'm tracing it carefully, okay? So I then, after tracing, I marked my line, my under bust, and then the bust points, and then I use my pencil to draw out the lines. It's very, very important. Please don't trace and then leave it and then continue. You might lose the lines, okay? So once you trace, you use your pencil to draw out the lines so you don't lose. You know, it's a tracing way, the lines are faint, okay? So you trace and then add your seam allowance. You can always come back to add seam allowance after tracing, but I decide to add my seam allowance. So that part has joining, because this is the part, the center front will be joining to the original center front one, okay? So having done that, the next thing is to now trace out the side. So what you need to do is to label first. So I didn't label correctly, I'm labeling it one. So we have 5 pieces all together, okay? So you should have 5. If you don't have 5, there is something wrong, okay? So you label correctly and then you continue with what you're doing, okay? So now we've picked out 4 patterns. Now I want to trace the side front. Now this is the last part to be tracing. So in order to get this, we'll open our shoulder dart again and then close our bust dart. So we'll be able to get one piece, okay? So you close your bust dart, you use your masking tape again to tape it down. All right, so after doing that, you can now trace. So you please look at where you trace, look at the armhole, okay? You're not tracing towards the armhole, just follow the pattern. You see the way I'm tracing it. So I had to stop this part so you see it carefully, okay? You know, we've traced that second yoke, so the second yoke entered this part, so you just know where it stopped. That's why I used a different marker pen so it will be clear, okay? So after doing that, you can now draw out your lines. Please make sure you trace on a straight line, don't trace your pattern slanty, please, okay? So you don't have issues, right? So then you draw it out and then add your seam allowance. So at this point, if you've not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please do wait to subscribe, leave a comment if you have any question, and if you're watching from Facebook, like this video, share it, okay? All right, so the next thing is to just label and then cut. So after tracing out, you cut out, make sure you label correctly, add your seam allowance, very important, to every part that you are joining, okay? So for the center front and the yoke, I had to label it up so I don't get confused between the up and the down. Okay, so please, it's very important, just label up so that when you are joining, you know that okay, this is the up and then this is the down, and then go ahead to cut. Place your pattern on your fabric and cut. Okay, so I'm using a lace fabric. I already gummed the underlay to the lace, and then I iron interface on the bustier area. I iron interface on the front, on everything. Okay, so the part that has the yoke, that's the second yoke, and the center front, they all have nude skin tone crepe. That's what I used. And then I used net. I got a skin tone net, but I don't know if it's very clear for you to see, but there's a net on top of the skin tone net. Okay, the crepe. So after that, and then you just go ahead and join. So this is how I'm joining it. I got the center front, and then got the second center front. You know, we have two center front, the main center front that is on fold, and then the second center front. Go ahead and join from the bottom to top. Okay, so join on 0.5 inch. Don't sew more than 0.5 inch, else you'll be entering into your measurement. Okay, so after doing the first one, I went ahead to join the second part. Okay, so after joining, what you now have your one full center front. Okay, you now have your full center front before you start joining the side center front. So this is my full center front. You can see the center front yoke. Okay, the center front panel there. So now this is the side front. So I will join the side front first, that's the bustier side, to the center front before joining the second yoke, and then before joining the neckline yoke. Okay, so I'm joining it. So when you are joining, please be sure to know where it stops. Okay, so that is why you should do it carefully. You should follow your pattern carefully, and don't add too much seam allowance. You can see the bustier. Okay, so then I'll do the same thing to the second part of the bustier. Okay, so after doing that, so I'll have my full front. Then what is left is just the yoke part that is remaining. So please do well to iron your seam lines open. Okay, so this is it, guys, and you can see the center front is not straight, it's giving that shape. Okay, that we did from the beginning. Okay, so the next thing is to add the skin tone yoke, the second yoke. Okay, so I remember I cut the lining for everything. So what I'm doing is I'm checking the armhole, where the armhole stop, because you're not supposed to sew into the armhole. Okay, and then you place it on the center and you pin it. So it's important you pin. If you don't pin, you might, the center to center, you might sew beyond. Okay, so what I placed my pattern, because I already added my seam to the pattern, so I already knew when. I just notch, I can see where I'm stopping, but just for you to know, so I'll use my chalk just to mark it, so you know that is where I'm stopping. I'll do the same to the other side, that's the armhole, just for you to know that second you shouldn't exceed that point I'm marking. It shouldn't exceed the point I'm marking. So that's the essence of me marking it too. I'll start from the center front. So I'll sew from the center front. I'll sew it to this way, and then I'll sew the center top. I'll sew this side, and then I will do the same thing to the other side. So that is what I'm doing, and please make sure you check very well before you pin it. You pin it down before sewing. It's important, so you don't go about losing it up and down. Okay, so I pinned it, and what I got was okay, and then I went ahead to sew. So that is what you do, and then after sewing, you go ahead and iron. Okay, plus remember to sew on 0.5. You didn't add. If you added more than 0.5, then sew more than that, but add. So if you add less than 0.5, please sew, but make sure you sew what you add. Okay, that's the joining allowance. So now I'm going to add the final yoke. Now that's the main yoke, the neckline. So I will notch the center front, and then connect it to the center front here, so I don't miss it. Okay, so that's why you need to notch. Your notching is very important while sewing. Okay, so you notch, and then you sew to this side, and then you sew. I like starting from the center. I don't like starting from the side, and then also, so starting from the center just helps me know that okay, there is a mistake, or there is something wrong, and it helps me correct it easily. If you start from the side, it might shift, right? So that is what you do. So you can see how straightforward it is. So just go ahead and join, and after joining you iron. Please iron your seam lines open, okay, and then use your tailor arm to iron the bustier so that it's going to be obvious. So you can see what I've done here. So what I will go to my table, ironing table, and I'll iron it. You can see the bustier. Okay, so that is it, guys, about this and that manipulation. Okay, so the next thing is to sew your lining. Okay, so the same way you join this part, that is how you are going to join the lining. There is nothing different, but me, I'll be using a bra cup. That's why I didn't use a wording. So after ironing, I'm going to use my bra cup, attach the bra cup, and then attach the lining and close it. Okay, so the lining is the final part. So if you watch to this point, I want to say thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share. So this is the final look. The dress is bigger than my mannequin. I had to pin it at the back. Thank you for watching.